Hello everyone, this is part 4 of What If Naruto Changed, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Being located near the desert, the sun was scorching hot and the sound of the waterfall falling on the small river would send anyone to eternal bliss at the thought of escaping the hot temperature, hence why one pervert was seen with only his belly on top of the water level, like he was on one hell of a vacation. He was hoping to enjoy every single moment of the last couple of days he had, before he and Naruto had to leave the place. Thinking hard, Jiraiya couldn't figure out the next step of Naruto's training. A year and a half already passed and Naruto managed to learn quite a lot. His taijutsu skills were propelled, bearing, easily, the skills of a high-level chunin. Naruto even managed to create a new taijutsu style that relies heavily on wind element, which surprised both Sujiro and Jiraiya at the time. Also he improved his bow staff style a lot, to which Jiraiya himself reasoned him to be on par with a chunin from the Sarutobi clan and maybe, rival a Junin at the end of their journey. Also, the boy's chakra-related training progressed nicely with him being almost immune to genjutsu attacks and just added close to 10 Fuyutin jutsus on his repertoire. Jiraiya chuckled upon remembering Naruto's new temporary sensei gasping at the speed in which Naruto learned the jutsus and the man really thought the blonde to be a genius. However, that was only possible because of the blonde's Kage Bunshin style of training. The question remained, though, about the next step. Jiraiya had a couple of choices to teach Naruto about, which was introducing him to the art of Fuinjutsu, sealing arts, or even teach the brat a new element to rely on, in case his wind jutsus weren't enough to subdue the enemy. Fuinjutsu is the hardest ninja art to master and he doubted Naruto would be interested in seals, rather than simple exploding tags and storage seals, so he pushed it aside, focusing on more ninjutsu. Now the question was which element to teach. He immediately left out Kaiten simply because of his prime affinity being wind. It wouldn't make sense for Naruto to learn two heavily offensive affinities and leave the defense side unprotected. Also thinking about it, Raiten wouldn't be considered either. So that left the Sannin with Doton and Suten ninjutsu for Naruto to learn for defensive issues. Doton would be his first choice since it is Jiraiya's prime affinity, but he also has knowledge on Suten techniques and how to learn them, plus with Naruto having Fuyutin at his disposal, Suten elemental ninjutsu could be very useful. Plus, the brat was still 15 and he could very well be learning how to use Doton techniques in the future. Suddenly, he saw what appeared to be a shift in the wind before he looked at the waterfall only for it to be sliced in a diagonal sense, probably a result of the wind sword technique. He, then, turned his eyes to the opposite side of the waterfall before smirking as Naruto and Sujiro were engaging in a full-out spar. Whether or not Sujiro was going all out he didn't know, but for Naruto to manage his own against this man was nothing short of impressive. Naruto was using his bow staff while defending from Sujiro's quick and deadly blows, before performing a major backflip just as Sujiro was about to land a vicious kick on his head. While making hand seals in the air, Naruto, then, collected air through his lungs for Fuyutin Daitopper, wind release, great breakthrough jutsu. Sujiro smiled at the kid's ingenuity, but focused chakra to his feet so as not to be taken away by the wind. After the wind died down, Sujiro unleashed some shurikens, before throwing them in the air and making some hand seals for Fuyutin Kaiten Shuriken, wind release, rotating shuriken jutsu. Upon seeing this, Naruto immediately was sent on edge, seeing that controlling shurikens was a very deadly technique to face. However, he didn't need to wait as suddenly. Sujiro stopped swirling the shurikens near him and sent them all to attack Naruto at the same time. Seeing no other way to escape the technique's grasp, Naruto increased the speed of 4 sequence hand seals and once again exhaled a small gust of air, before controlling the wind chakra to surround him. Fuyutin K's no Tate, wind release, wind shield jutsu. After the defense dropped, Naruto saw that the shurikens were nowhere in sight, so he rushed to attack Sujiro before he had the opportunity to control other shurikens. He quickly focused chakra to his bow staff to elongate the weapon and began the assault against Sujiro with a new kata he devised. It consisted of a 6-combo hit with the usage of the Kage Bunshin technique. Holding the bow staff with his both hands on Sujiro's chest area, he initiated by hitting the man on his right side, thus making Sujiro lose his air for a second, before Naruto hit him on the left side, thus increasing the pain. Seeing that the man was incapacitated, Naruto then attacked the man's legs with a powerful thrust, before swirling the staff and hitting him on the shoulder. Afterwards, Sujiro managed, beyond the pain of being hit with Naruto's staff, to see that Naruto landed the staff on the ground, before resorting on it for balance as he landed an uppercut kick right on the man's chin, sending him flying straight to the air where a new Naruto was waiting with a sequence of kicks, before landing one on the man's head, thus sending him straight down to suffer the immeasurable pain in agony. Or so he would have, if the Sujiro he attacked was not a Kage Bunshin as well. As soon as the smoke dissipated, Naruto heard claps coming from behind him and he turned to see his Fuyuten sensei, who in turn was demonstrating an approving smile on his own, considering that Naruto displayed some serious skills. Very impressive, Naruto-kun. That clone of mine took some serious hit. It took a heavy load of my chakra to keep him from vanishing throughout that sequence of yours. I correct to assume it's one of your creations? Asked Sujiro, to which Naruto nodded, before focusing chakra once more on the staff to shorten its handle for the blonde to place it inside its holster. Yes, it is Sujiro-sensei. The original one doesn't involve the Kage Bunshin and it ends on the fourth hit aiming the shoulder. So, now what am I going to learn? Asked Naruto, being all enthused, which earned a smile from his sensei in recognition. Actually, Naruto, there isn't much I can teach you that you couldn't get on your own with time. You may not realize that you've been here for 4 months now and you've learned all 3 forms of Fuyuten manipulation, said Sujiro, before seeing Naruto's bewildered look of realization that his elemental training is over, but Sujiro wasn't far from being silent. It's with satisfaction that I say you managed to complete the training regimen I set for you, and for that, I believe congratulations are in order. Before you, only one ever managed to finish my training, and that was the Yondaime Kazekage. Mikami has his hunger for power soul right now, smiled Sujiro. I appreciate all the training you gave me, Sujiro-sensei, and I hope to improve my skills to be on your level, or at least hope to cope better with it the next time we spar, smiled Naruto, gaining a nod in recognition from his sensei. Believe me, kid, when I say you won't take long to reach my level. You have an advantage everyone would die for, and that's your chakra abundance. By using the Kage Bunshin experience, you could grow by leaps and bounds and probably become the best wind user in all of the elemental nations. I believe you, above protecting those precious to you, would like to set out a name for yourself, isn't it? Asked Sujiro, before he saw Naruto nod, and he continued. Then, you'll be indeed famous. Learning Fuyuten element is both time and chakra demanding, but anyone who masters the element is presumed to be feared. You remember reading about the tales of Kazekaga's Kage Tenshu, didn't you? He quoted that wind element is mostly known for its unpredictability. 1 minute it's blowing west and the other it's on the opposite direction. By being a master of the wind, you can become even more unpredictable than you already are, Naruto, and I feel very proud to be the one helping you become the next Kage Tenshu, smiled Sujiro as he saw the beamed expression on Naruto's face. Arigato, sensei, said Naruto as he bowed in respect to his sensei, before he heard the voice of Jiraiya approaching. Great, you stay with him for 4 months and bow to him in respect. You stay with me for the duration of our trip and you call me a pervert. What happened to the respect? Grumbled Jiraiya, earning a warm laugh from Sujiro, but he soon would have to hold his stomach when Naruto opened his mouth to speak. Why would I call you any differently than what you are, Ero-sensei? You even admit that you're a super pervert, said Naruto, earning a sigh in dismay from Jiraiya as he saw Sujiro on the ground bending over, while holding his stomach from laughing so hard. Okay, all jokes aside, Naruto, since your training is over, I believe we overstated our welcome in Sujiro's house. Go pack your things and tomorrow we'll be leaving, said Jiraiya, earning a nod from Naruto as he simply walked towards the mansion, thus leaving the 2 elders alone to talk. So, how many he got this time? Asked Jiraiya, earning a smile from Sujiro as he showed what appeared to be the same disc used to test the strength of the wind affinity. Jiraiya could very well note an increase in the number of cuts than last time. 32 cuts total. Simply amazing. No matter if he cheats time with the Kage Bunshin, he's a prodigy and you know it. I don't have to repeat myself more than 2 times when explaining the theory, and he managed to achieve everything through practice. It's been an interesting last 4 months, that I can say for sure, said Sujiro, to which Jiraiya smiled. With Naruto After leaving his senseis, Naruto walked calmly towards the mansion. The sun was just setting down and the beautiful orange hue on the sky practically forced a smile on his features. Adding the waterfall on the landscape, it was a picture to be forever kept in his mind. He kind of wished that he wouldn't have to leave so soon. Sujiro-sensei was strict in training, but Naruto could very well see that the man's is as strict as his own drive to be stronger. Also, being acknowledged by such a being was like a boost to Naruto's pride. Nevertheless, he very well knew that for his sake and for Konoha, Naruto needed to become stronger and as such, he needed much more experience than he gathered since he started his career. He needed to fight against opponents who wouldn't think of holding back in case of an opening like either Sujiro or Jiraiya does. He needed to have a better grasp of the idea of kill or die, that every shinobi has to learn throughout his career and he couldn't learn it here. After arriving at his room, Naruto collected a medium-sized scroll, before opening to review a specific kanji. He, then, placed all his clothes on top of the scroll, including some books he earned from Sujiro to improve on Fuyuta ninjutsu, before focusing on a single-handed seal. Immediately, when a bunch of clothes and books were, now the only thing visible was the same kanji now revolved around some new set of kanjis, meaning that this scroll was already full and therefore unable to use. Just because Jiraiya didn't think to teach him Fuinjutsu, doesn't mean he couldn't teach the very basic knowledge, like how to seal his personal belongings inside a scroll. The pervert thought about teaching how to create explosive tags, but then thought against it. After sealing everything inside the scroll, Naruto laid on his bed and looked at the window as the sun was vanishing little by little and it was almost getting dark outside. However, just as the moon appeared, the effects of the battle ran out and soon fatigue appeared. The boy didn't even hear Sujiro's shouts of calling him for some dinner. The next day Once everything was all set, Naruto and Jiraiya set food outside Sujiro's house for the first time in 4 months. It felt a bit awkward for both Naruto and Jiraiya to step in the other dimension and they had to take some time to adjust to this new feeling. Wow, that was weird, said Naruto as he held his head so that it would stop spinning, a sentiment shared by the pervert. You can say that again. Man, I forgot about this rush of traveling dimensions. Now, let's get going, Naruto. There is a village nearby about 10 miles that we can settle and then continue on our next destination, said Jiraiya, earning a nod from Naruto as they started walking. Although he didn't say anything, though, Jiraiya couldn't help but smile upon seeing the brat walking, a proud smile on his features, before he saw that the blonde was going to ask him something. Sorero-sensei, where are we going now and what will I be learning? Asked Naruto, earning a smile from Jiraiya. Don't worry about that for now, Naruto. After we settle in, we'll take a nice long bath at the onsen. You know, relax a little bit. I've noticed you didn't let your body heal from the heavy strain that Sujiro placed you in, so we're still overdue some relaxation period. Remember, we still have lots of time to learn more techniques and train more, explained Jiraiya, to which Naruto nodded, while looking forward the destination. Sujiro-sensei was sure strict, but in the end, I really managed to learn 10 new techniques that will surely prove useful in the future. I guess you're right, then. Let's relax a bit, said Naruto, before hearing the pervert snort upon hearing what he thought he did. Well, this is a first. Uzumaki Naruto just wanting to pass training for relaxing. The world is at an end, I can see it, dramatized Jiraiya, before smiling in delight upon hearing Naruto grumbling some incoherent curse words aimed at his sensei. What he could say, he just loved to tease with the brat. It didn't take long until they arrived at the village and settled inside an inn which happened to have a vast public onsen for the two to rest their bodies, well in Naruto's case anyway. The pervert let out a sigh in relaxation as he let the hot water relax every muscle of his body, while hanging his arms outside the pool. He, then, looked at Naruto only to see that the blonde was in deep thought once again. Jiraiya didn't like when Naruto did this and it was plainly obvious the reason. Upon being asked, Naruto would always show some level of doubt regarding the idea of relaxing while he could be training instead. Actually, Jiraiya feared that the boy would become too power-hungry and immediately set out to talk to the boy, like hearing the boy's thoughts on these troubling subjects. Naruto, tell me what's wrong. You don't seem to be so relaxed, asked Jiraiya, before seeing Naruto taking a glimpse at the pervert from the corner of his eyes, before looking back to the water in dismay. Oh, it's nothing really. I just wished that I would figure out what was wrong with me beforehand, then half the trouble Team 7 went through wouldn't happen. I'm not saying I'm blaming myself for Sasuke's defection, that's his own doing, whether or not he was being subjected to the cursed seal's will. I could have covered more ground at the academy and probably learn every bit of the necessary information, thus leaving space for the more advanced material I should be reading for my age. Things like accuracy, politics, traps, basic taijutsu, basic genjutsu, all of them I've only managed to learn after the whole Sasuke's defection incident, said Naruto, while still looking down, clearly not letting go of his feeling of regret. Jiraiya for his turn at least had the decency to nod while believing that at least this time is different. However, the brat was delusional and he needed to hear a truth or two. Naruto, you better listen intently to what I'm going to say and you better throw that thought of yours away. Maybe, you should have paid more attention at school, maybe not. Anyway, what happened in the past is unchangeable and it won't matter to sulk on it. This feeling of regret you possess is out of line. You can't just hope that things were different in the past. What happened then must remain as such. What you must worry about is the present and the future. You're now managed to cover the entire elemental manipulation training in only 4 months, where only Junin level ninja manages to truly master, explained Jiraiya, before he saw Naruto looking at him, listening to what his mentor had to say. Dwelling on the past will only cause you to be bitter and not trustworthy. You want to change, then change for here on out, become the ninja of your dreams and we'll train harder to achieve that dream, said Jiraiya, before smiling upon seeing Naruto smiling as well. One condition, though, brat, if you say this to me once more, you'll be riding on top of Gamabunta, until you learn it the right way, smiled Jiraiya, which in turn earned a nod in acceptance from Naruto. Arigato, sensei, said Naruto, though shockingly as the situation seemed to Jiraiya, he didn't say a word. After an hour and a half, sensei and student were to get some dinner at the only restaurant in town, which made all types of food. Naruto and Jiraiya ordered a sushi special combo that was actually enough for 4 people, but Naruto guaranteed the owner that he would even request more after it was over, which earned a chuckle from Jiraiya. So, Ero-sensei, what's next? Asked Naruto, earning a nod from Jiraiya, since Naruto managed not to do any kind of exercise today. Well, let's see. You managed in 1 year and a half cover taijutsu, bow staff, genjutsu and Fuyutan ninjutsu. You already learned how to increase the Rasengan and I expect you to keep improving with time. What's left basically, what I can teach you actually, is either the art of sealing called Fuinjutsu or a second ninjutsu element. Of course, you still need to train your Fuyutan techniques to get adjusted to them and learn how to use them in different scenarios, so we're going to take the remaining of this year for you to cover all these fighting scenarios. The last year will surely be spent with Suiton manipulation, said Jiraiya, earning a questioned look from Naruto. Why Suiton specifically? I know that Kaiten and Raiten are out of the picture, since they are heavy offensive elements, but what about Doton manipulation? Asked Naruto, before seeing the sensei smile as the sushi dish was served along with some tea for the two. Indeed, out of the other elements, I was in doubt between Suiton and Doton. However, there is a new concept of ninjutsu nowadays called collaboration jutsus. It consists of 2 shinobis or, in the rarest cases, 1 shinobi, performing 2 techniques that merge with one another, creating a more powerful and more destructive technique. Now, there are certain elements susceptible for the collaboration jutsus. For example, by merging a grand fireball technique with the great breakthrough jutsu, the wind will double the fireball size. Fire jutsus are more suitable because they can merge with Fuyutan, Doton and Raiten, leaving Suiton of course for obvious reasons. Suiton is the next best for collaboration jutsus, being able to merge with all 3 except Kaiten for the same reasons, with me so far. Asked Jiraiya, before seeing Naruto eat some sushi and nod for the pervert to continue. Your prime affinity is wind and as such, you can use collaboration jutsus with only Suiton, because wind nullifies lightning and it doesn't do anything with earth-based techniques. In the end, if you were to learn collaboration jutsus, the only other element suitable for doing so would be Suiton, explained Jiraiya as he ingested a tuna sushi. I understand, however you said yourself that a collaboration jutsu needs 2 shinobis. How can I do it on my own? Asked Naruto, earning a nod from Jiraiya, since he was expecting this question. Indeed, in theory, the collaboration jutsu are performed by 2 shinobis. However, Naruto is one of those rare cases I mentioned before. You do remember how you used Kage Bunshin to train Fuyutan techniques, didn't you? Then, you do realize that you could use the collaboration jutsu with your own clone, said Jiraiya, before he saw Naruto smile at a new attack possibility, but Jiraiya wasn't finished. Also, because of your wind affinity, your defensive ninjutsu is severely limited to only the K's no Tate technique. With Suiten ninjutsu, you could learn more defensive techniques that could save your life as well as those you protect in the future. So, with all that explained, Suiten is the best element to teach you right now, understood? Asked Jiraiya, to which Naruto nodded as he ingested the last sushi, before calling the waiter to bring in a new set of sushi, to which Jiraiya smiled and asked for some tea as well. A couple miles away from their position. Pacing from trees at unimaginable speed and almost out of breath, Azuki Yugao was trying to escape the wrath of what appeared to be two shinobis from the Iwa Anbu forces called Boulder. Another one of her S-ranked suicidal missions headed towards Iwa, where Konoha found suspicious information about a powerful missing nin threatening to border into Fire Country. She, along with two other Anbus, went to investigate, only for a brutal assault to occur before the Anbu team managed to kill the missing nin. Their price, though, was too high, as two of Konoha Anbu was killed by the same Boulder Anbu who was supposed to kill the missing nin. Now, although Yugao was being chased for no reason, those Boulder Anbus were maniacs and wouldn't stop at nothing to have a hold of her to kill her, or even worse if one of them decides to have his way with her beforehand. Along the way, she was dodging with the best of her abilities the incoming shurikens and mud balls. However, her chakra was almost entirely used against the missing nin and she didn't have much to use for escape. Also, Konoha was too far away for her to even consider calling for backup. Her alternatives were wearing thin, before she views a small village with maybe 10 or 15 houses for her to hide. However, as soon as Yugao changed her course of action, she cursed the heavens after one single mud ball hit her on her left leg, and because of her immediate pain, she couldn't focus on landing on the next tree, thus following mercilessly on the ground with a heavy thud, before spitting some blood from her mouth. Just as the ninjas landed near her, she knew her time was up. Her legs were heavily bruised because of the Doryu Dango technique and a couple of ribs were broken because of the fall. Not to mention that she was almost out of chakra as she heard one of them talking about what she feared. "You've been a very bad girl, you know. And bad girls deserve a punishment," laughed the one from the right, earning a snarl in anger from Yugao, who wanted to be killed already, not raped. "Oh Matsuro, finish her off already. We have to get back to Iwa," said the other, but this Matsuro guy waved him off and kneeled down next to Yugao before he removed the woman's mask. She could see from the guy's face that he enjoyed seeing her angered face, and it was plainly obvious that he wouldn't be satisfied until he did the worst deeds to her body possible. However, before Matsuro managed to take her pants off, everyone was stunned to hear some shouting Fuyuten Repushu, wind release, Gale Wind Palm Jutsu, before two focus jets of wind hit Matsuro head on, thus sending him straight towards his comrade, before both were sent flying. Yugao was at loss of what just happened, before he saw what appeared to be a blonde man jumping in front of her, as in protecting her while facing the Boulder Anbu. She, then, sensed a hand on her shoulder, before turning her face to see one of the Sannin Jiraiya. "Jiraiya-sama, what are you doing here?" asked Yugao, before Jiraiya ushered her to save her strength. "Easy there, Anbu. I don't know your name, but right now we must get you into safety," said Jiraiya, before he saw Naruto standing against the Anbu members. "Ero-sensei, take her away from here, I'll take care of them," said Naruto as he started a large sequence of hand seals. Jiraiya smiled at his student and took Yugao with him back to the village, who by now was unconscious due to chakra exhaustion and utter pain on her legs and ribs. However, she stayed awake long enough to see the blonde preparing for an attack. "We're not letting that bitch go, you old geezer," charged Matsuro, until he looked at the blonde in front of him finishing the hand sequence, before whispering the name to the winds. "Fuyuten Surezu no Tatsumaki, wind release, slicing tornado jutsu." Naruto exhaled a strong gust of wind through his mouth, before it transformed into a huge hurricane and charged against the Anbus, who didn't have the time to evade because of the proximity and got hit dead on. Once inside the hurricanes, Matsuro and his partner began receiving multiple slashes from every side, while Naruto took the opportunity to follow Jiraiya to their hotel, not even bothering to see that the ninjas' bodies were like chopped meat sprawled across the forest. The next day. The next day, the weather wasn't as nice as the day before. It was raining heavily and Naruto was playing some shugi with Jiraiya, while waiting for the woman to wake up. After placing her on a bed, Jiraiya managed to contact a local doctor who helped cure Yugao's wounds and even wrap the place where she broke her ribs with bandages. Right after arriving at the hotel, Naruto questioned Jiraiya about what happened to her, to which the Sannin could only surmise it as a failed mission. Jiraiya also mentioned that he communicated with Konoha about the female Anbu and received info regarding her status. Also, Naruto heard Jiraiya talking about an order coming from the Hokage ordering the female Anbu to take a long vacation and to remain under Jiraiya's care until he and Naruto returned from the training trip. So, while watching the heavy rain outside, Naruto and Jiraiya were playing shugi, unaware of the fact that Yugao already recovered consciousness. Slowly opening her eyes, her senses began to respond as she managed to hear the sound of rain outside. Immediately, she woke up alarmed, fearing that she was captured, only to look at an empty room, before she heard the same voice she heard yesterday. "Ah, it seems you woke up. We're worried you'd take a while to do that," said Jiraiya, alerting Yugao of both his and the blonde's presence. It took a while, but Yugao remembered where she saw the blonde before and also realized that he was the one that saved her from being raped by the shinobis from Iwa. Looking below her sheets, she was relieved to see that her Anbu clothes were still on, although they looked better before. Suddenly, the pain from her broken ribs hit her and she gasped from it while unconsciously placing her hand near the bandaged area. "Once we brought you in, I found a doctor who took great care of your wounds. You should be fine within a week," smiled Jiraiya, earning a nod from Yugao, while she saw the blonde smiling at her as well. "Well, it seems that an appreciation is in order. Our Uzumaki, isn't it?" asked Yugao before Naruto nodded. "Uzumaki Naruto is the name, and you don't have to thank me. Ero-sensei here sensed the heavy usage of chakra and told us to see what was happening." "How are you feeling?" asked Naruto. "My ribs still hurts. Excuse me, Jiraiya-sama, I need to contact Konoha of my fail," said Yugao, but was interrupted by Jiraiya. "No need. I've already contacted Tsunade about your status and she issued an order to you. It's in this scroll," said Jiraiya, before he gave the scroll for the woman to read. "Yugao-san, I hear from Jiraiya's intel that you managed to complete the mission you and 2 other Anbus were sent to. He also said that you're badly injured and would have been killed if he and Naruto didn't stop the Anbus. Also, since he didn't see you with the other, I will assume him to be missing in action, until further information. Now, it's came to my attention that you have participated in all of Konoha's Anbu suicidal missions, and in each one of them you returned with bad bruises and chakra exhaustion. You're one of this village's finest example of what kunoichi should be, and as such I cannot afford to lose you. As of right now, I'm issuing a long-term mission, and it consists of staying with Naruto and Jiraiya until they are scheduled to return from their training trip in 1.5 years. God, I'm Hokage." After reading it, Yugao suddenly lost her focus and started looking down to the ground. She received a new mission which didn't involve her sacrificing her life in near-death situations, thus gaining enough time for the old tears and scars of her life to appear once more. She then looked at the two. "So it appears that we're expending a lot of time together, Naruto, Jiraiya-sama. What are we going to do for 1.5 years?" asked Yugao, to which Jiraiya smiled. "You are to rest, lady. Doctor's instructions. We will remain here until you feel ready to walk. After that we're going to see country. There is a place there where I intend to teach Naruto here about Sutan manipulation. For now, though, please get some rest. Our lunch will be brought here, so we don't have to leave the room," said Jiraiya, before he heard the sound of the door knocking and opened for the attendant to leave the lunch on the bedroom table, before leaving, with Jiraiya following. "Where are you going, Ero-sensei?" asked Naruto as he got up to check the lunch. Yugao in the meanwhile was wondering about the term Naruto used to address one of the Sannin. "One of my spies reached me regarding some news. His place is not so far away from here. Help her eat, okay?" said Jiraiya, before closing the door, leaving the two alone. Naruto then inspected the food and then turned to the Anbu. "Well, I don't know if you like these steamy vegetables or not, but Ero-sensei said I have to stop eating ramen and eat some healthy food. I'm sorry, but I don't know your name," asked Naruto. "Actually, on normal occasions, sharing my identity would ruin my chances of being in Anbu Corps, but considering the situation, I guess it's okay. My name is Izuki Yugao, and to answer your first question, I do like steamy vegetables, but I'm afraid you'll have to help me, just by lifting my arm. My ribs hurts," said Yugao, but something about this whole ordeal pissed her off. The reason was that she was kind of a self-reliant person. Naruto, though, didn't seem to mind as he grabbed the dish and one hashi to feed her. As he sat down next to her, Yugao turned to address him. I was kind of curious about how you addressed Jiraiya-sama, asked Yugao, before seeing Naruto leave out a little laugh. Oh come on, I'm sure you've been to one of Konoha's onsens before, right? There isn't a single woman in the elemental nations that wasn't piqued by the almighty Gama Sennin. That's the reason for his nickname. Plus, it's nice to see his face after I call him that, laughed Naruto while grabbing a broccolis and positioning for Yugao to eat it, to which she smiled and ate the vegetable. Yugao found it strange about this feeling of peace she felt upon seeing him laugh and also understood why Naruto called Jiraiya like that, from all the times she had to leave the onsen because of the man peeping at the women. So, what can you tell me about the Anbu? I heard from Ero-sensei that they are the elite of shinobi in Konoha, so one must be really good to join the rank, isn't it? Asked Naruto, earning a nod from Yugao as she accepted another broccoli, before swallowing. Well, you have to be at least Junin to join our ranks, and even so, it's necessary to have complementary skills that make you different from the rest. Are you interested? Asked Yugao, before seeing Naruto nod, but with some reluctance as expected from everyone. I don't know, I'm still a genin and probably won't be a chunin until I come back from this trip. It'll take even more time for me to be a junin, said Naruto as he grabbed one of the broccolis and ingested it before he offered one for the woman who gladly accepted and ate it. Suddenly, one memory hit her and she realized Naruto was facing two Anbu shinobi on his own. It was very impressive you taking on those Anbus. Before going unconscious, I noticed the Fuyutin jutsu you used to save me, stated Yugao, before seeing Naruto blush in appraisal. After all, it was the first time a woman praised him for his abilities and not smash him in the head like Sakura did. Well, Fuyutin, it's my prime affinity and I know wide-scale jutsus that leaves the enemy no alternative but face it head on and hope to survive. Those Anbu sure didn't. I have a question, though. Konoha's policy is about teamwork, but you're alone against those two. What happened to your team? Asked Naruto, but the lost look on Yugao's face told him everything and he feared something back happened. Two other Anbu members were sent along with me for what we advanced shinobi calls suicidal missions. We managed to defeat an A-rank missing nin that was trying to enter Fire Country, however those Anbus from Iwa wanted to kill the man, hence why they killed my two comrades. I didn't have enough chakra so I fled and that's where you and Jiraiya-sama found me, explained Yugao, earning a nod from Naruto as he finished his plate and then placed at the table. I never lost a comrade, so I don't know what's like. I'm really sorry, though, for what happened. Were they close to you? Asked Naruto, before seeing Yugao negate with her head. No, they weren't, at least not more than colleagues, said Yugao, but stopped while unable to form the words to express that they died in the line of the duty. Ever since her fiancé's death, she has been throwing her life at risk so that she would forget the immeasurable pain that fills her heart every day, but while she wanted nothing more than this, she didn't want people to go down with her if such a thing occurred. For some unknown reason, every time she has been close to death, but never she walked towards the light to finally meet her dead boyfriend once more. You don't need to explain it to me. Do you want anything else? I see the rain is already subsiding, so I'll prepare for my bow staff exercise routine, said Naruto. Well, resting doesn't really suit me any good, so you could help me get up and take me with you, smiled Yugao, earning a nod from Naruto as he made a familiar hand seal, before two cage bunchins appeared next to Yugao, before helping her get up and go outside. Yugao was surprised with the usage of cage bunchin, but didn't say anything. Upon arriving at a clear which happened to be the hotel garden, Naruto's clones helped Yugao to sit on a bench nearby, before being dispelled as she got to watch Naruto pick his weapon, before initiating his dance against the imaginary opponents. While watching the martial arts showdown, Yugao just felt the need to smile as the scenery before her. After the run stopped, the sun's power opened the skies and forced his sunlight to illuminate the once clouded day. Also, since Naruto's hair was that golden blonde, the sunlight actually increased the color tone to a point that Yugao wondered if it was shining. Also, she could see the smile displayed on his face as he went through some really advanced katas of the bow staff style peculiar to the Sarutobi clan. In fact, any shinobi who wanted to explore the use of weapons in order to use it as an extension of the body must practice daily to a point that using it becomes second nature, and Yugao was surprised to see a person so focused, besides herself, and for all her might, she couldn't finish her train of thought. Her heart hurt immediately, thus preventing her from comparing Naruto's drive to become better with the weapon in a similar way to her deceased fiancé. She was so engrossed in this train of thought, that she didn't realize a new presence has just arrived. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? You know, the Sandaime was my sensei, and not once did I see this level of dedication regarding the bow staff style. I guess Naruto has taken a liking to it, said Jiraiya as he took a seat next to the momentarily surprised woman, before he spoke again. I thought I told that you needed to rest, didn't I? Asked Jiraiya, earning a nod from Yugao before she looked back at Naruto, who just finished one advanced move that consisted of him extending the staff over his shoulder while extending his arms, holding it and swirling his body, taking as many enemies as possible with it. I don't appreciate resting in a room for one whole week. Besides, this is not the first time I'm in this situation, said Yugao, to which Jiraiya nodded. I know that. I've confirmed with my old teammate about your status. Azuki Yugao, Anbu captain level shinobi with an impressive record of successful missions, only losing to former Anbu captains Uchiha Itachi and Hitaki Kakashi. Was soon to be married with Tokubutsu Junin Geku Hayate, but he was lost during the Sand Sound invasion. Ever since, you've went to one suicidal missions after another, barely escaping out alive in probably the majority of them, reported Jiraiya, but he stopped when he saw the foregoing look on her face, before he switched to Naruto, who was still practicing. I somehow knew that you didn't go for some information, instead you asked for my file. As to why, I wonder. What business you have with my life and what missions I do take. With all due respect, Jiraiya-sama, you don't have the authority to, said Yugao, but stopped from fear of overstepping her boundaries, but Jiraiya only smiled and landed a hand on her shoulder. I'm sorry if I intruded in your life like this, but I needed to know a thing or two about you, because of Naruto, stated Jiraiya. If you're asking whether or not I hate him for the Kyuubi, all you had to do was ask. And no, I don't hate him, I never did. I was merely a child at the time and my parents were samurais on the moment of joining Konoha. No one precious to me died because of him, and if it did, I'd know the difference between the fox demon and the one who keeps it jailed. But there is more to it, isn't it? This mission isn't only for training him, asked Yugao, before she saw the pervert nod in positive with his head. Since you're in Anbu, I'm sure you heard of this new Akatsuki organization. Asked Jiraiya, before Yugao nodded, and he continued. They consist of S-ranked missing nins from all the hidden villages with the purpose of collecting the tailed demons, and Uchiha Itachi happens to be one of their members, along with former member of the swordsmen of the Mist Hoshikage Kisame. Both extremely powerful shinobis, being on pair with my skills, and they happen to be the ones after Naruto in order to get the beast from within his stomach. This mission is both for his training and his protection against the Akatsuki. So, I saw your file in order to assess your skills in helping both with his protection and his training. I understood you have a prime affinity for Suten and you're one of Konoha's top weapon user, which makes you perfect for teach him improve, explained Jiraiya, to which Yugao nodded. Well, seeing as I'm here with you two for the duration of this trip, I might as well do something. However, if Akatsuki appears, I won't be much help against them, stated Yugao. You won't need to actually. They won't attack him with me around. Last time, they tried luring me away from Naruto so that they could move in for the capture. However, in case they manage to find us and move in for a fight, I'll hold Itachi, since he's the most dangerous one. You'll pair with Naruto against Kisame. With the brat's long-scale jutsus, he can use it to escape, and I would follow shortly afterwards with my Toad ninjutsu, explained Jiraiya, earning a nod from Yugao while she was watching Naruto now switching to Fuyutin practice as he began to control the wind to swirl around his body. Suddenly, just as Naruto switched to a different hand seal, the once small gust of wind transformed into a hurricane, before the blonde relinquished his control and the once gathered wind was dispersed through the air. I have a feeling, though, that in a few years' time, he will be a force not to be trifled with. I'm still dazzled by his control over the wind element, said Yugao, to which Jiraiya nodded. Even though I say he has the skills of a Chunin, inside I know that he's stronger than a low-level Junin. By the time we come back, he'll be strong enough to give the Akatsuki a run for their money, stated Jiraiya, as the scene shifted to Naruto once again focusing the wind around him, but now for a different hand seal, as suddenly a strong gust of wind was sent forward, but with not so much chakra, but more control, so as not to damage the hotel garden. While watching, Yugao couldn't help but think about her next year and a half and how much of an influence will Naruto leave on her, if what she felt earlier was any indication. == 1 week later == 1 week later, the group composed of a Sannin, an Anbu captain and a Genin, set out for the next destination. Yugao did let go of the Anbu clothes, since it would be too inconspicuous to walk around wearing that without her mask, and she purchased a new set of clothes, consisting of black cargo paints, a new pair of grey boots, and a fishnet shirt covered with a Junin-style vest. During the course of the week, she and Naruto managed to form a nice level of bonding, sharing conversations about people they know, shinobi skills, and even some gossip about her ex-Anbu captain and Naruto's Junin sensei, who actually were the same person. While sharing those conversations, Yugao found strange that Naruto managed to maintain a decent level of conversation with her, because she knew that those of his age usually focused on more trivial manner. Naruto explained to her about some aspects of his life, albeit not the darkest part, but just a glimpse of it, which urged him to learn things that he wouldn't have to, until the right moment, thus getting a nod from Yugao in understanding. After all, growing up alone and without assistance was tough for anyone. To top that, he was also hated for something he didn't do. Naruto also told some aspects of his training, even the part about him learning what was like to take a man's life, even though he was already beaten, to which Yugao nodded in understanding, since it's a very important fear all shinobi have and can lead to unexpected surprises if one couldn't find it in his right mind to do what was needed. The last member of the group actually remained distant throughout the week, only watching with a smirk the interaction between Naruto and Yugao. He knew from Tsunade regarding the reasons for her choice in performing suicidal missions, but after a week of bonding, he could very well see that Naruto was indeed having an impact in her way of thinking. After all, because of what Naruto went through, he could socialize and maybe even understand others' pain better than anybody else, hence why the pervert believed that Naruto could be the one to wake her from her fiancé's loss. Suddenly, though, the perverted mind of his clicked at the possibility of a new bestseller as he grabbed his little notebook and began scribbling a few ideas. By seeing this, though, Naruto had the decency to sigh in dismay and explain to Yugao that sometimes he have some sort of breakthrough about a new idea for his porn, and then he begins to write things while giggling like a fangirl upon seeing an Uchiha. Snorting in realization of that damn book, Yugao couldn't help but shiver at the possibility of her being a character in this new book of his, a thought surprisingly shared by Naruto as they walked towards the place where Naruto would learn Sutan manipulation and better improve his wind techniques. A few days went by since the group set trip once more, and the destination was a place Jiraiya knew that would be splendid for Naruto to learn how to temper with the water element. The perverted Sannin, though, wanted to keep it a secret from his traveling peers, even though both Naruto and Yugao kept asking questions about it. The woman was fairly certain they were heading to water country because of the direction they were taking, but while she knew its geography, the country itself was foreigner to her. All she knew was that water country, just like fire country, has its own hidden ninja village, called Kirigakure. Right now, the group found a little cottage on the way and decided to rest a little bit, before setting foot once more towards Jiraiya's destination. Taking advantage of the situation, Naruto chose to perform one special exercise he learned from Sujiro-sensei. While Yugao and Jiraiya were talking about Konoha a bit, the blonde took a sit on the ground, before crossing his legs in a sort of meditation position. He, then, closed his eyes and positioned his hands on the ram seal in order to mold the necessary chakra for this technique to work. Suddenly, the wind suffered a major shift around Naruto as he continued to focus on molding the Fuyutan-type chakra around and also beneath him. While the blonde was attempting the exercise, the excessive usage of chakra alerted Yugao and Jiraiya, who, then, stopped what they were doing and looked at the blonde to see what was going on with him. The woman was puzzled about the whole ordeal, but she had a feeling that the pervert knew what the blonde was doing if his smile was any indication. This is an exercise Naruto learned from a friend of mine, regarding the usage of Fuyutan chakra. In a couple minutes, you'll see a very surprising feat, smiled Jiraiya as he managed to spike Yugao's curiosity. A while later, just like the Sannin predicted, the woman watched in amazement, as Naruto suddenly lifted off the ground and started levitating slowly. She looked at Jiraiya with a dumbfounded look, which to the man, was obvious that she was demanding an explanation as to how he managed to levitate by just using chakra alone. By focusing Fuyutan chakra on certain tenketsus, Naruto can propel his body off the ground and be able to maintain a constant flow of chakra in order to maintain his position for some time. My friend saw his chakra abundance and taught him this exercise. It consists on a very advanced exercise of chakra control. By practicing it, not only can Naruto expand his chakra capacity, which is already big by the way, he can also improve his elemental chakra control to the point of knowing just the exact quantity of chakra to be used for each technique, explained Jiraiya as he kept watching the blonde performing admirably. Yugao, on the other hand, wondered about the Fuyutin element and its peculiarities. I happened to come across some Fuyutin uses back in Anbu, but since it requires a heavy load of chakra, no one actually favors using the element alone from fear of losing chakra in the midst of battle. Naruto, on the other hand, doesn't even seem fazed by using so much. How long can he hold this technique until he grows tired? Asked Yugao, though she never took her eyes away from the blonde while talking to the Sannin. Normally, in about 10 or 15 minutes, he stops and you can see drops of sweat from his face. However, that happened 2 months ago. Nowadays, I wouldn't be surprised if he managed to uphold the 20-minute barrier and not even show any hints of tiredness, explained Jiraiya, earning a nod from Yugao as she crossed her arms. After that, no more conversation was shared between the two as Yugao just stared at the blonde performing the exercise. In the short time, she got to meet the blonde, surprised was a word that could describe what she was feeling at the moment. While she didn't think of labeling him as the demon he keeps prisoner, she actually thought people disliked him because of the unknown number of pranks he'd always pull when he was young. However, after spending some time with him, she found the boy to be quite entertaining and fun to hang out with, not to mention the fact that sparring with him, on occasions, managed to drift away her angst, somewhat. After the group left, Jiraiya would set Naruto and Yugao against each other on just weapons fight, and while Naruto was nowhere near Yugao's level of proficiency, he managed to tire the woman out because of his stamina. Because of this, Yugao found herself sleeping better than before, whether it was because of the new company or said company tiring her down to near unconsciousness, she wasn't aware, but either way, she was thankful for the first time she was able to close her eyes at night and open them the next day, since her fiancé died. Of course, the nightmares still occurred from time to time, but they were less frequent as her body had to replenish its energy. Also, as far as conversations went, Naruto and Yugao would often exchange some battle experiences, and Naruto would share information about the new generation of Konoha's ninja force, namely Konoha 11, of course being 11 since the Uchiha traitor decided it was better to go kiss some snakes' ass than remaining in the village, slowly building his reputation. 15 minutes passed and both Jiraiya and Yugao felt the wind returning to normal and Naruto landing on the ground before getting up and turned to look at his audience. I wasn't aware I was performing a show here, commented Naruto as he got up and adjusted his clothes, before approaching the other two. With that much chakra being used at once, I'm rather surprised with the only two watching, brat. I can see you got better than last time. I can see, as well, that you're not as tired as before, said Jiraiya, earning a nod from Naruto. I'm actually a little bit winded, but certainly not as bad as before. So, can we go already or is there a need to rest a little bit more? Asked Naruto, but was surprised when Yugao showed an amused grin, but kept to herself, though. It surely was a first, Naruto and Jiraiya thought. Upon questioning as to the motive, she simply explained that when it comes to training, Naruto could be rather impatient, which earned a snicker from Jiraiya and a frown from Naruto. It didn't take long until the group set foot outside once more, heading towards where Jiraiya wanted to go. During the way, Yugao was examining Naruto's bow staff a little bit, as in administering its weight and how Naruto could perform faster movements with it. Naruto, meanwhile, was watching Yugao's analytical eyes with enthusiasm. Discussing certain aspects about weapons certainly perked the blonde's interest, and he wanted to know more about how to treat your weapon as if it was your own limb. Yugao was content enough to explain some things to him, since, even though he was outright eager to learn more about it, never once did he demanded or acted like a child pouting about wanting to learn more about it. After throwing the staff from one hand to another, she then gave it back to Naruto, who, then, used chakra to short the staff's length and place it on his back, before he paid attention to the weapon user. Your weapon is well balanced and not very heavy, allowing you to minister faster movements which would disorient the enemy. However, Naruto, you must take into account that every weapon has its weakness. The katana, for example, is weak against multiple opponents, so it takes much of the user's skills to be able to take on against a group of enemies, whereas with the staff, you're better equipped to fight them together. Being that said, the bow staff fails when it comes to speed and agility in moves. You do remember how I managed to enter your defense so easily, right? Asked Yugao, before Naruto nodded and she continued with her assessment. So in order for you to eliminate this weakness is to predict my movements and act accordingly. How can I predict your movements? I only act once I see your intentions, replied Naruto, not sure if he understood the concept behind using the weapon as an extension of his body, and Yugao felt certain that the blonde was in the right track here, albeit a little uncertain of his skills. Naruto, that's what it means to use the weapon as if it was an extension of your body. In plain taijutsu or even ninjutsu match, mostly it's your instincts that guide you. With it, you're able to start hand seals just because the opponent started walking towards you, or you raise your arm in defense when your instincts tell you to, even though you didn't actually see the enemy move. Everything is purely based on instinct. Don't worry, though, when this training is over, your body will be predisposed to move accordingly to the enemy's movements, smiled Yugao to her new student. Naruto for his part was quite beamed at the possibility of learning from a person like Yugao. Her skills with the sword was unheard of, at least as far as the blonde's knowledge went, and the fact that she was more than willing to teach him was a plus in his opinion. Yugao-san, I understood from the pervert over there, that you're also a water user. Is it so hard to master? I mean, because of the fact that it's not my affinity and all, asked Naruto, earning a nod in the positive from Yugao. I wouldn't say hard per se, it's just time demanding, that's all. You can grasp the theory easy enough, the problem is that, since it isn't your affinity, your body would take more time to adjust than you normally have with Fuyutin techniques. Once again, though, don't worry about time, because we've got plenty to get you in shame regarding the bow staff and Sutan ninjutsu, explained Yugao. She, then, saw the beaming smile from the blonde and couldn't help but smile as well. Jiraiya explained to her how nice it's to teach someone like Naruto because he would absorb everything like a sponge, and also because of his chakra capacity, he could go on and on until he managed to master the exercise. Not to mention the strange but nice feeling deep inside her heart when she sees him working hard to overcome obstacles that only someone with a Junin level of chakra capacity could undertake. Say Naruto, I never got to know much about you, except your skills as a shinobi. And you seem an interesting character. So you don't mind if I asked some questions about you, do you? Asked Yugao, before seeing a smirk on his face, followed by a nod. After getting the authorization, the woman began bombarding the blonde with questions regarding many aspects, like his view of the village, his dreams for the future, people he knew, including those he worshipped, and of course, those he wouldn't lift a finger to help. Naruto explained every question with details, going from how he adored Konoha and its sights from the Hokage monument. He described about his favorite place and favorite activity, which was watching the sun setting down. He, then, explained what used to be his dream, to which Yugao offered her surprise, since rarely a person ever dreamed about being the Hokage, before he explained that he didn't have that dream any longer, which once again surprised the woman, before she asked why. I just don't know what it takes to be a Hokage anymore, and I don't even know if I'll have what it takes to be one as well. As we grow up, we slowly drift away from our childhood dreams. We kill, we cope with it, and we move on, but our scars remains vivid within our minds until the day we're taken from this world. For instance, you could tell that Itachi's dream was to kill his entire clan and become a member of the strongest organization in the elemental nations. My dream, now, is to be able to take the opportunities that lay before me and seize it the best way possible, explained Naruto, not even aware of the fact that the woman next to him was looking at his face as if the blonde didn't even existed. Jiraiya, though, heard everything and sighed in sadness, since Naruto learned the harsh truth of the ninja world far too soon for his liking. But he said nothing as he continued walking, just as he heard Yugao manifest. For you to speak like that, means that you've been through a harsh experience as a shinobi. Care to enlighten me? I mean, if it, not personal and everything, asked Yugao, before seeing the blonde negating with his head and explain about what happened on the day he and a couple of his peers tried bringing Uchiha Sasuke back. Yugao, then, heard about how eager the Uchiha, as Naruto often called him, was to obtain power, going as far as betraying the village by joining with Orochimaru. As she heard everything, she couldn't help but flinch at the notion of being hit dead on by Kakashi's signature technique, the Chidori, right on the chest. She was wondering how the hell Naruto was still alive, but she remembered the fox inside his stomach and figured it had something to do with it. In the end, Sasuke left me to die, and if it wasn't for Kakashi-sensei helping me, I'd be dead long time ago. Since then, I decided that a major change in my life was due. Improving on areas I failed at the academy was the first step, said Naruto as he continued talking while Yugao just listened intently, while absorbing everything about Naruto's life. She smiled when the blonde explained to her about his idol being the Sandaime and the Yondaime Hokage, explaining how much he wanted to be in the same level of skills in the future. She didn't need to hear about the person the blonde loathed, since it was pretty clear from what happened at the mission to retrieve Sasuke. All in all, though, even if she never once heard he speak the fox's name, she was fairly certain that the blonde went through a lot ever since he graduated at the academy. Obviously, there were other less fortunate than him in the shinobi regard, like those born in the midst of war, but Naruto managed to gather a great deal of experience. Say Yugao-san, said Naruto, earning the woman's attention before the blonde started the conversation once more. While growing up, I managed to figure that shinobis in general has different ways to cope with their pain of loss, and I was wondering if Kakashi-sensei, when he was at the Anbu, arrived late for his meetings. When we started as genins, I always thought he did it just to piss us off, but one time I saw him staring at that rock that contained the name of the shinobis that lost their lives in the line of duty, asked Naruto, earning a sad smile from the woman as she remembered her discussion with her ex-Anbu captain the day of the Sandaime's funeral. Flashback on. Music, Hokage's funeral, playing. Konoha was suffering from the heavy rain that fell right after the Sandaime's funeral started. To almost everyone in the village, Sarutobi Hiruzen was considered the sole bearer of the Will of Fire, and because of his passing, even the sky was crying. Every shinobi in the village gathered in front of the administration building in order to offer their final gift to a man that managed to protect everyone until his last dying breath. On the other side of the village, though, two elite shinobis were giving their prayers to long-lost comrades and dead fiancé. Kakashi was with his hands on pockets as he stared at the monument that held the names of those that passed away while on a mission or defending the village from the enemy. Kakashi-senpai, did you come here for Obito-san? Asked Yugao as she saw him get up and walk away, while she approached and knelt on the ground in order to pray for her dead fiancé. Hurry up, the Sandaime's funeral is about to start, said Kakashi as he turned and looked at the Hokage monument as Yugao finished her praying and turned to address the silver-haired Junin. You should stop making excuses for being late and come here earlier, Kakashi-senpai, commented Yugao as she got up and looked at the man while waiting for reply. I already have, but every time I come here, I just feel like beating my former self to the ground, said Kakashi before he started walking towards the place where the Sandaime's funeral was being held. Flashback off. I cannot tell much about what happened to Senpai, from fear of losing his trust in me. If you want to know about it, you can try to ask him about it. However, back in Anbu, he coped differently than nowadays. Kakashi became a legend in the Anbu forces because he decided that going on death-like missions would take his attention away from what happened to him. On several occasions, he'd return from a mission covered in blood and bruises, explained Yugao, with a lost look on her face, but Naruto was oblivious to this whole ordeal as he processed the story. Sounds like he's been through a lot, then. Thanks for explaining it to me, Yugao-san. I guess a part of me always wanted to know about him, but I never pushed myself to ask him about it, said Naruto as he looked further to Jiraiya's back. Suddenly, the perverted stopped in his tracks, while waiting for Naruto and Yugao to stop next to him, so that he could show the place where they would expend the rest of the trip. When Naruto and Yugao appeared, their eyes were plugged from their faces as they witnessed maybe the most beautiful scenery nature is able to produce. It consisted of a wide lake surrounded by a couple of mountains that were responsible for dividing an even bigger river rapid, thus creating a great ordeal of three amazing waterfalls. And try imagining similar scenery to Niagara Falls. The sheer pressure of the waterfall hitting the lowest river was enough to create a reverberating sound that would echo throughout the field, and Naruto was already gulping in anticipation from having to get near those waterfalls. Welcome to Water Country's Taki no Sanpasu, Waterfall of the Three Paths. Its creation was due to seismic activities a long time ago. History showed that this scenery's creation never stopped changing since a long time ago, and even now is on the verge of changing. Naruto, this place is perfect for you to learn how to use Suitenjutsus, smiled Jiraiya, until the blonde asked him why, and he explained. I'll explain later, but by the end of our time here, you'll be able to reverse the current as it's required of a Suiten master. Once you become adamant on using Suiten chakra, you'll proceed to reversing the river's current and maintain it for the duration of 1 minute. Mind you that this exercise is extremely difficult and you'll only be attaining this because of your high chakra capacity. Any other genin or even chunin would be hard-pressed to hold it for a couple of seconds, before his or her chakra capacity would run dry. I bet even you Yugao-san would have trouble reversing the current for 1 minute. With my chakra, I managed to go up to 3 minutes, smiled Jiraiya as he jumped from the mountain they were standing and fell on an open space near the river's margin, before he proceeded to untie his belongings and set out the camp. Only after Naruto and Yugao landed as well, did Jiraiya start explaining something about the terrain. Well, of course water won't be an issue for us, but food will. This river is filled with salmon, however they're used to swimming against the current and will be extremely hard to catch them. Also, hunting animals down these parts won't be an option, because as you can see, there isn't much habitat down here, except for the salmons. Naruto, you'll be in charge of catching the salmons for us every day, think of as endurance training, ordered Jiraiya, earning a frown in dismay from the blonde who was wondering how the hell does filling the pervert's stomach could help him train. Easy there, brat, I'll explain my idea. When you're fishing for salmon, your body will be dragged by the current down the river. You can maintain your position, though, by applying chakra to your limbs and using them to stay put or even manage to swim against it when you're strong enough, explained Jiraiya before he saw the blonde give him a nod, albeit not so satisfactory. Seeing as the sun was setting, Jiraiya postponed Naruto's training for the next day, considering the fact that training in such a dangerous environment at night wasn't a very safe thing to do. Tampering with the lake's strong currents without supervision could hurt the blonde. So, that left with the group leaving the camp in order to find some fruit for them to eat. A couple of apples and bananas were found and they left with nothing but fruit for dinner, since neither Jiraiya nor Yugao felt like diving into the river to catch some salmon, to which Naruto verbally protested, saying that when push comes to shove and he isn't in any shape to go fishing, then one of them would have to do the deed. Of course, Yugao joked that she would offer him some chakra pills to replenish his health in order for him to go fishing, a motion seconded by Jiraiya who, in turn, appreciated the woman's quick thinking. After dinner, the three set out 2 tents, seeing that they now have a lady with them and sleeping together wasn't in Yugao's plans, especially with the pervert around. The next day After more fruit for breakfast, Jiraiya, Naruto and Yugao went to walk on water in order to feel exactly what's like to balance themselves on top of the river rapids. Yugao and Jiraiya didn't have much trouble because of their experience, but they could very well see that Naruto was focusing very hard to walk normally, which was expected seeing as this was the first time Naruto ever had to walk on top of such strong currents before. After a while, the group stopped in the middle of the lake and Jiraiya began to explain Naruto's training regimen from now on. Naruto, we have 1.5 years to teach you how to handle Suiten ninjutsu. We also need to perfect your Fuyutin affinity as well as your weapon fighting skills. Here's what you're going to do every day, starting today. During the morning period, you'll be with Yugao here sparring with her using weapons. The goal here is to be on par with her skills by the end of this trip, explained Jiraiya, but was cut short when Naruto protested. Excuse me Ero-sensei, but what you mean being on par with Yugao's skills? She is the best Kenjutsu user in Konoha and when we fight, I couldn't even see her moving correctly, much more managing to reach a level of a elite Junin, said Naruto, earning a smile in appraisal from the woman and a smirk from Jiraiya, but he proceeded nonetheless. That's exactly what I meant, Naruto. Of course skills of her caliber would take a while for you to reach, however you forgot that time doesn't apply to you the same way. We'll be training for 1.5 years, which to you, can go up to 4 years using only 4 kage bunshin. Surely, you understand this right Naruto, concluded Jiraiya, before he continued with the training regimen. In the afternoon, you'll be mastering your Fuyutin chakra and we're going to practice it during fighting situations that will include both me and Yugao here. Afterwards, you'll receive lessons regarding introduction to Suiten chakra while getting adjusted to practicing on top of these troubled waters. In no time, you'll adapt and we'll proceed to fighting on the water, using not only weapons, but jutsus as well. By the time you manage to finish learning how to use Suiten chakra, we'll move on to a couple of Suiten techniques I plan to teach you, of course followed by some offensive ones as well. Well, that's about it. Any questions? Said Jiraiya, before he saw Naruto negate with his head. This new method of training was insane, Naruto wondered. No matter, though, cause it would be just another of his achievements in the future. After the method was explained, the three went to shore, before getting out of the river. Jiraiya, then, stepped out of the way as Naruto and Yugao picked up their respective weapons so that the training could begin. Naruto, before we begin, I'll ask you to clear your mind out of any thoughts that could influence you in this fight. In order for you to let your instincts guide you, your mind will have to be clear, okay? Asked Yugao, before she charged Naruto head-on with the intent to attack his sternum, before Naruto managed to defend the strike by positioning his bow staff accordingly, but instead of only defending, he pushed the sword backwards with force, intending to temper with Yugao's equilibrium, being unsuccessful, however, since Yugao absorbed the impact and managed to defend Naruto's quick strike on her chest. Upon seeing his attack flustered, Naruto positioned his bow staff on top of his shoulders and began twirling straight at Yugao, leaving her no alternative other than to jump back since a lone ninjato wouldn't be able to parry the attack. After stopping the attack, Naruto grabbed the end of the staff and swung it vertically aiming for the girl's hand, before Yugao evaded the technique and landed a powerful kick to Naruto's abdomen, sending him flying while holding his stomach as a pathetic attempt to stop the pain. After managing to land on his feet, despite the pain, Naruto suddenly felt the need to kneel because of the pain in his stomach. He grudgingly got up as the pain eased a little bit, before looking at Yugao who was only waiting for him to return to the fight once more. Her fighting stance was already in position, never once underestimating Naruto, even though he was just an ant in comparison with her. Just by looking at her like that, Naruto respected her skills. However, he had a goal to achieve and that meant being on par with her in skills by the end of the training trip, so it was time to use some chakra to aid him. Focusing some towards his legs, his speed was now doubled as he was right in front of her in seconds, thus surprising Yugao momentarily, before she adjusted to his speed and managed to parry his advance by positioning her foot right in between Naruto's legs, thus tempering with his balance, before she positioned her sword inches away from his jugular, leaving him no alternative other than yield. Using chakra was good and all, but speed itself is useless if you lack the skills to predict my movements. What you must learn, Naruto, is that, different from taijutsu, you have to remain some distance from your opponent. Because if not, he will do exactly as I did, except he won't have any interest in keeping you alive, understood? Asked Yugao, earning a nod from Naruto, before they started the spar once more. At the end of the second year . With time, their fights improved in quality and Naruto was able to parry Yugao's movements a lot better, even managing to catch her by surprise from time to time. Regarding Fuyutan ninjutsu, Jiraiya had to give it to the blonde. In just about every jutsu he used against the blonde, Naruto had a counter for him by dodging fairly quickly and then doing hand seals with enough speed that before Jiraiya even finished his jutsu, Naruto would already send either a wind sword jutsu at him or a wind gale palm jutsu, being the fastest ones available in his arsenal. The blonde even managed to create a new technique that is even faster and similar to the Kaiten Hausenka no jutsu. By focusing Fuyutan chakra to his lungs in intervals, Naruto learned that he could expel wind shots from his mouth and Jiraiya had to use a very powerful Doton defense so as not to be pierced by the blonde's technique which was called Fuyutan Kase Tama, wind release, wind shot jutsu. His stamina also improved by so many times wrestling against the strong currents as well as catching the fast-swimming salmons, to which Naruto cursed the very existence from not even bothering the fast currents. One time, after he went out of the water with a bucket of salmons, he could have swore that Yugao looked at him as in checking him from head to toe with a faint blush on her face. Whether she was this way from being tired after their sparring sessions or not, the boy was oblivious. The truth, though, was that indeed Yugao was having perverted thoughts but she chose to keep it for herself. During their time together, the woman felt at ease with the blonde, often talking to him on various occasions and even sharing a couple of funny stories together. She also had the decency to respect Naruto's hard work to learn every bit of the tips she gave him regarding weapon fighting as well as every bit of information regarding suit and chakra, which in 3 months, practicing and the blonde already managed to create little whirlpools on the water. She was fairly confident that by the end of the training, Naruto would be well versed at the subject. Nevertheless, even with the interaction with him, one thing still didn't change since she left Konoha. The nightmares, although less constant, were still there and when they came, she just couldn't sleep afterwards. She would then get up and look at the waterfall in front of her, wondering about how much her life changed because of what happened. Before the invasion, she was the skilled Anbu Kunoichi and future wife of Geku Hayate, now though, She's nothing but an empty shell of her former self. Closing her eyes, she remembered how it was to feel his touch once more, to hear his never-ending coughs, which were a way he found for enemies to underestimate him from thinking he was sick. She, then, opened her eyes to look at the waterfall some more, before sighing in dismay at what happened with her. However, when she turned and went back to sleep, she suddenly lost her ability to breathe. Her eyes were as wide as saucers for what she was seeing in front of her. Right next to a sleeping Naruto, a Junin appeared wearing a bandana and the all-too-familiar sword passed from generations of the Geku clan strapped to his belt. He was looking straight to Naruto for a while, before the man turned to his beloved wife. "It's good to see you, Yu-chan," greeted Hayate, before he saw Yugao flinch by the sudden heartache she was feeling at the moment. In her dreams, she always wanted to talk to him at least one more time, to say how sorry she was from not arriving at the place earlier, thus preventing his deaths. Hey. 8. Hayate-kun, how? You're dead. I. Saw you myself, she tried to speak, but it was very difficult considering the circumstances. I'm indeed dead, Yu-chan. However, that doesn't mean I can't talk to you, right? After all, it's not every day I'm granted the opportunity to speak with you, said Hayate, before he looked back to Naruto in contemplation. Yugao was finding strange that Hayate would do that, but seeing her dead fiancé once more was all that mattered right now. I remember him from the Chunin exams I proctored. He was quite adamant on winning against the Inuzuka that, even though he was beaten severely, he never admitted defeat and managed to win the battle in the end. He may be young, but I can see a lot of willpower in him. Sandaime thinks he possessed the will of fire he speaks so much about, and I can very well see great things for him in the future. Wouldn't you agree, Yugao-chan? Asked Hayate. What do you mean? Asked Yugao, but was interrupted by her fiancé, as he explained. You've been spending a lot of time with him these days. I know that because I never stopped watching you from above. I could see how proud you were when he managed to deliver a solid blow with his bow staff, and I even saw how you're looking at him when he got out of the river, even though I admit I was kind of jealous from above, laughed Hayate, before seeing Yugao's flustered look. It's been a long time since my death, Yugao-chan. You can't just keep doing this to yourself. Endless nightmares, thoughts of regret from thinking that you could have prevented everything from happening. You deserve to move on with your life, you deserve to be happy, advised Hayate, before he once more looked at Naruto as in giving the hint to the woman. However, before she could ask the man why he was talking about this, she noticed that his spirit began to fade, before he was completely gone from the world, but his message managed to echo once more. Move on with your life, Yugao-chan, I'll be up there protecting you. Hayate. No, come back please. I want to talk to you some more. Hayate, screamed Yugao, not even aware of the fact that she was dreaming about everything. Hearing the constant screaming, Naruto decided to check what was happening, and he approached Yugao's tent and heard she screaming the name Hayate over and over. He, then, decided to wake her up in order to wake up from a possible nightmare. Yugao, wake up, Yugao, said Naruto as he placed his hands on her shoulder before sharing her. The woman suddenly opened her eyes, before the first thing she noticed was Naruto and that she was inside her tent the whole time. Naruto, what happened? Why did you wake me up? Asked Yugao as she sits from her position, while scratching her eyes. You were screaming the whole time about Hayate. I thought you were having a nightmare. I'm sorry, said Naruto, before Yugao dismissed the need of apologies, before getting up from her tent and walking outside, still wondering if she was dreaming or not. However, since she was able to feel Naruto's hands on her shoulders and the wind adjourning her features, her question was answered. The dream was so real, though, she wondered. Her heart was in pain the whole time as her conversation with her dead fiancé progressed. In the end, though, she didn't know if what happened was real or just an effect of her subconscious playing tricks with her mind. She was wondering about her dreams so much, that she even forgot who was standing behind her. There was no awkward moment, because no one ever threw their clothes off in order to sleep, hence why Naruto was in regular black paints and dark gray shirt and Yugao was with the black Anbu paints and her fishnet shirt. Yugao-san, I didn't mean to wake you up, it's just, said Naruto trying to apologize, but he stopped once she turned to address Naruto. You don't need to apologize, Naruto, really. I was indeed having a nightmare of sort, explained Yugao, thus easing Naruto's anxiety of ruining a person's beauty sleep. Silence, then, ruled the brief conversation as the woman started contemplating the sky to see if what she dreamed about was real or not. Naruto, for his part, knew something was wrong the minute he looked at her face, or rather her long-lost look. She, then, turned and walked straight for her tent as she passed Naruto without saying anything. In the dream, Hayate would look at her while saying she needed to move on with her life, but surely he couldn't be meaning what she thought he was. Sure, Naruto was a nice person, devoted to his life as a shinobi and also good company for conversations. She even remembered the blonde's physical attributes as very attractive. However, she couldn't even picture her together with him, the same way she was with Hayate. If you want to talk about it, I'm all ears, advised Naruto, thus earning her attention. Thanks Naruto, but is nothing really. It was just a nightmare after all, I'll go to sleep, good night, greeted Yugao, not even wanting to dwell on the subject of trusting the boy that much, as she slowly walked towards her tent. I know that look on your face, Yugao-san, he started talking, well aware that she was listening every word of it, since she stopped dead on her tracks. That look of pain from what happened in the past, you constantly shout to the heavens as to why it had to happen with you of all people and the constant feeling of regret you develop afterward, convincing you that it's your entire fault for what happened, even though you couldn't ever predict the results. Yeah, I know that look very well, explained Naruto as he looked at the waterfall, not even aware that the very woman he was addressing to was looking straight at his back with wide eyes. You got that just by looking at my eyes? Asked Yugao, still shocked that the blonde just now described everything she was feeling. Not only that, but also hearing you in your sleep this entire time. I felt like asking you about it, but I never meant to pry, so I kept my mouth shut about this. Also, when we're sparring, sometimes I had to use chakra to be able to block your fierce attacks, which carried more strength than finesse. I always figured that just like everyone, you two had your own bad story to cope with, explained Naruto, earning a nod from Yugao as she had the decency to look down in sadness. She really considered bottling up these emotions and hoped to get pasted this on her own, from fear of being misunderstood by her peers, who in turn, also had their respective bad stories and supposedly managed to get pasted it. However, for some strange reason, she thought she could actually trust the blonde not to judge her, and thus she decided to open the barrier she kept up for so long. Why don't we go closer to the river so we can talk, advised Yugao, earning a nod from Naruto as he followed the woman until she took a seat 2 inches from the margin and started talking. It happened the day before the sand sound invasion on our village as my team happened to be the ones responsible for performing some routes throughout the Konoha's urban territory. Nothing out of ordinary happened, as per usual, and our team was about to end the shift when the sun was up the next day. However, one of my teammates found a dead shinobi on top of a roof, carrying a fatal wound from a Fuyutan technique, explained Yugao as fresh tears began to fall from her eyes, but she continued, nonetheless. Turned out that the shinobi was none other than my fiancé Geku Hayate, said Yugao, as she burst into tears, while Naruto stood there shocked. He remembered the guy from that hosted the second part of the Chunin exams and wondered, at the time, why he wasn't present for the third part. Instead he was replaced by a man named Shiranui Genma. Looking at the woman crying her hearts out, Naruto immediately let go of his wondering and embraced the woman in a tight hug as she let every tear from her eyes and every air from her lungs on Naruto's strangely comforting chest. She screamed at her fiancé for leaving her, she screamed at the bastard who killed him, she screamed at Kami for doing this to her, taking away Hayate from her life. Naruto, meanwhile, was caressing her hair gently while expressing some kind words for Yugao. His intention was immediately resumed to being there for the woman in hopes of curing her from her depression. The blonde felt Yugao tightening the embraces to receive more comfort, only for Naruto to understand the hint and bring her head even closer to his body as he continued to caress her hair. Some minutes later, the woman's tears were beginning to subside and she stopped screaming, probably because her vocal cords were beginning to hurt, at least that was what Naruto thought. Yugao, however, was just feeling comfortable right there on Naruto's chest. It wasn't long until Yugao closed her eyes right there and then. Naruto, seeing this, smiled and closed his as well, sleeping with his head on top of hers. When the sun appeared, Yugao woke up after, strangely, one of the best sleeps she had in years and looked up to see Naruto there as well with her the entire time. She, then, backed away from him a little bit, while never once stopping to look at his cerulean blue orbs and that big comforting smile of his. Feeling better, Yugao asked Naruto, before he saw the woman nod with her head. Words didn't need to be exchanged between them now, both would get their answers just by looking at each other. Both of them heard Jiraiya giggling like a maniac. The man witnessed everything, of course, as he was well versed in espionage, and Naruto and Yugao both knew that the pervert would definitely put them together on his book in the future, if the frantic scribbling was any indication. It didn't matter, though, as both of them, as Yugao felt like a weight the equivalent of a ton of bricks was lifted from her shoulder, and Naruto was just at ease by helping the woman be at ease. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.